your credibility among your peers is mostly like a made up thing that you're telling yourself. You're making that an issue. No one else is deciding that for you. Just make mistakes. And I think at the end of the day, just be authentic. If you want to try something new, go try it. Just be yourself.
Welcome to Pixels, where we explore the heart and art of photography. I'm Beth, and I'm so glad that you've decided to join me. Pixels is a project of the Nature Photography Collective, where we provide virtual and in-person experiences to help nature photographers more confidently and consistently express themselves. You can learn more at naturephotocollective.com. I'm really pleased to welcome Talor Stone to the podcast. Talor is a PhD researcher and photographer based in Las Vegas, Nevada. As a polar specialist, Talor has spent a significant amount of time exploring the polar regions, particularly Greenland. Her images merge science and art to highlight themes of transition and connect viewers to places few will ever visit. Her hope is to raise awareness that climate-threatened landscapes are more than data points, charts, and statistics. They're living places that deserve to be protected in their own right. I'm really excited to meet Talor at the Fall Horizons Photography Conference happening in Durango, Colorado from October 2nd through the 5th. Both Talor and I are presenting, and her presentation title is Visual Storytelling from the Edge of the Earth. And just as we're excited to meet each other, we're excited to meet you. Please visit horizonsphoto.com to learn more about the conference and to register. Let us know in the comments what you find most useful or meaningful about this conversation and what ideas it brings up in you. Your likes and shares are always welcome, and please subscribe so that you're always notified of future episodes. Now, on to the conversation. Hi, Talor. Welcome to Pixels. I'm so happy to be talking with you today.
Hey, Beth. I'm glad that we were finally able to connect.
Yes. You've been on some adventures. And so we started this conversation, I think, back near the new year. And here we are in mid-April. So I bet you've got lots of tales to tell.
Yeah, that's the life of anyone who travels for a living, right? It just takes forever. It's like, let me look at my calendar.
And it's like months out. Yeah. But that's a lovely kind of life, I think. We are connected. First, I would hope I would be connecting with you anyway, because you do amazing work. And
thank you.
But we were formally introduced because we are both going to be speakers at the Horizons Fall Photography Conference in Durango in October. So I'm very much looking forward to meeting you there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm especially excited to get to talk with you because I've long admired your photography and how you push the creative boundaries of what photography means. So it's really great.
Thank you. That is very kind of you. And I know we're going to be talking about some of your own boundary busting as part of our conversation. So I feel like we are probably kindred spirits that way. Except I'm not quite as adventurous, but I did see two things that we have in common. What were they? Well, we know we both have dogs. We both love Priuses, because I think you spent some quality time in a Prius. And then there was something else, and now I can't remember what it was, but it will come to me.
Yes.
But I'm wondering, especially now that you're back, and I assume that you're back at your home base, what is energizing you these days?
Well, I did just come back last week from southern Chile on a workshop, and it was just like a really unique workshop that was multiple years coming to fruition. So it always feels so good when something finally arrives. And then it's just a very unique trip where we sailed through with a sailboat through the southern Chilean fjords, and getting to see Patagonia from the side that no one ever gets to see was just so fascinating and enriching. And we just had everything that you could ask for. So it's hard not to come back feeling high from that.
Absolutely. How do you, I talk to so many photographers like you who do these rather epic trips, and it's so far removed from like the day-to-day, fill up the car with gas, go to the grocery store, pay the bills. How do you handle reentry?
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on how long the trip is, because
Yeah.
sometimes I've had stints where I've been away, mostly on ship-based trips where I don't have access to a car for even like 2 months. Then you come back and you get in your car and you're like, it's been a while since I've driven one of these things.
Yeah. Do I still remember what to do?
Yeah, I mean, silly stuff like that. I think you get used to that reentry of coming back into a world where you're constantly bombarded with information. But
Hmm.
also, I think that something that probably doesn't get talked about a lot, but should get talked about, is that you come back from like these pinnacle peak experiences into like a normal life. And it's kind of difficult to not go through what you would expect in terms of that emotional high followed by a low. And I know I'm not alone in that. I've heard other people privately share that they also go through those same things, but it's
Yeah.
pretty normal part of the job to come back because you have these absolute peak experiences where you just like get all those endorphins out and then you come back to a normal world and no one around you has any idea what you're talking about and they
Yeah.
can't share that experience with you. So it can feel a little disconnecting.
The word that came into my mind was some grief. Like I can
Yeah.
imagine I would feel some grief for like there's excitement and like you said, there's endorphins and that elation from having that peak experience. And then there's the slump, and
Yeah.
maybe feeling grief because I'm not there anymore, even.
Yeah, and I don't want to mischaracterize it as like a complaint because I certainly
Right.
don't
No,
feel
no.
that way. It's a fabulous life, but maybe listeners can understand because if they've been
Hmm.
on like a vacation or something
Hmm.
that was like a transformative life experience,
Yeah,
and then you come home and you kind of need that vacation from your vacation because
exactly.
like you're trying to share pictures or talk to people about what that experience was like and it's just one of those things where you had to just be there. You know, like
Hmm.
how do you
Hmm.
share that experience with someone who wasn't there? It's really hard.
And the
Yeah.
photographs are one way, but they hardly do it justice
Oh,
when you
totally.
have been immersed.
You could be an amazing photographer and it still wouldn't convey like what it smelled like and sounded
Yeah.
like. And I mean, it's just all of the things that are the full package of a travel experience. But when you come back, it's kind of re-energizing to be able to dream about the next thing and
Yeah.
come back and you recover and you're saying, okay, well, what's next? Let's go.
Yeah. It seems like we wouldn't want to be in peak experience all the time.
No.
There's some balance of like those endorphins and then feeling grounded and maybe even rooted in
True.
something.
Yeah, you do want a home, like a home base, and also like a girl needs sleep.
Indeed. Indeed.
All
I
right.
am a big fan of sleep.
Yeah, I need sleep too, so you can't be going hard all the time.
Gosh, it's interesting you say that because I read your bio, I look at your images and see your website, and I'm like, she goes hard all the time. There's so much, and you have spent a lot of time, as we heard in the introduction, in the polar regions, the Arctic,
Mhm.
Greenland. I'm curious, what initially drew you there, and what keeps you going back?
It's funny because I have been asked this question by peers or just anyone that I'm chatting with why I would pick some quite obscure places to like
Hmm.
make my entire life about. But there's just not an easy answer. I think it found me by accident in some ways. You know, when I first started traveling to the Arctic, it was mostly because I felt this intense urge to like run away from the chaos that was happening in my personal life at that time. At the time, I would argue to anyone, including my father, that I wasn't trying to run away from my problems, but in retrospect, I probably was.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and like I just went somewhere far away to try and escape and I ended up finding something that I needed so much more and this connection that I really couldn't have anticipated. It ended up not just being a trip to somewhere far away, it ended up being this transformative, pivotal point in my life that has carried me and will continue to carry me, I think, through all of my creative and professional endeavors.
Yeah, photographers often seem to have um, what I would call a heart home.
Oh,
Um,
you
that
said
place,
my words.
there you go, heart home. So maybe that was the other thing I was thinking that where we intersect.
Mm,
For some people it's Death Valley, others it's Utah, others it's, Greenland and the
yeah.
Arctic. And um, it sounds like that's what that is for you.
Yeah, Greenland's definitely my heart place. There are a few places that could just elicit that strong emotion from me. It has so much to offer in terms of varied landscapes and wildlife and communities. And I've just built like a personal connection there that makes
Mm-hmm.
every trip that I have that much more meaningful. And also, like, I've invested myself on my personal time to learn more about it and to like deepen my personal knowledge. And that also enriches my experiences because it's not just a pretty sunset, it has meaning. And I'm not just observing a polar bear. The polar bear has meaning and a context and a community of people and a long history. And when you can start connecting all those pieces, I mean, you just walk away with much deeper experiences.
Well, that seems to be represented on your website through, like, instead of gallery or portfolio, you have visual stories,
Yeah.
and you lead us through almost like the relationship that you have with the subjects that you are photographing and the land that you love.
Right.
Would you describe a little bit about how you put those visual stories together and what you hope
Yeah.
for from them?
It's a double-edged sword, okay? So I can give you my intention. My
Mhm.
intention when I created my website a couple years ago was that I was going to create a place where people couldn't run away from knowledge,
Mhm.
because it's very important to me that I'm connecting photography with science and other fact-based information so that people learn. For me, photography is not about a pretty picture. It's about communicating a story in a way that someone can connect with it. And so I didn't want to have a photo gallery. I wanted to have stories that people could engage with. And so there's really no way to consume my work without
Mhm.
also consuming some type of fact based information about what that visual story is trying to tell you. And so curating those images together in a collection to help tell that story is, I think, really important, but also including elements like audio and video, so that people can connect with it in a unique way that you don't
Mhm.
typically get just from looking at images on Instagram.
Yes.
um, the double-edged sword on that is that now I have pigeonholed myself into releasing things into visual stories that feel complete,
Mhm.
which means that I'm very slow to release new work because I'm constantly thinking like, oh, this story just isn't ready yet, or I have the photos but I don't have the audio, and so I can't complete it till I go back there and get audio. And so I've really kind of maybe set myself back. But you know what? I'm still married to the concept. I still believe in
Yeah.
the concept, and eventually I will totally get more updated work on my site.
Yeah, no, but it's beautiful. And I love that you're saying, like, you can't just engage with the images, you have to engage with the information, the
Mhm.
context, the backstory. And what I also appreciated was that you present it in very accessible terms.
I try and keep
There's,
it short and sweet,
yeah, yeah.
and I try not to have too much of a spin on the information I'm sharing. Like it's just,
Hmm.
it's fact based. I rely a lot on science and history to tell those
Hmm.
stories. So
Hmm.
when you're looking at something like fog over icebergs, you're understanding why that fog is forming and what the connection of that fog is to the people who live there and how that can affect their lives. And so it's more than just a picture of fog over ice. It is this interconnected story in a world that we're all living in. Like we
Yeah.
we play a role in that fog, and that's something that you would never consider if you just saw a photo. You would never consider.
I know I wouldn't, but even as you're talking about it, I'm thinking, now that, tell me if I'm on the right track, that, okay, you could present fog with icebergs as like, oh, that is so cool, it's mysterious, it's
Yeah.
moody, it's whatever. But that fog probably should not be there, is my guess.
Yeah, well, so there's a one of my visual stories is called Arctic Dreams, and it's
Hmm.
about the phenomenon of Arctic coastal fog, which is really
Hmm.
prevalent in Western Greenland. And it is a naturally occurring phenomenon, but
Hmm.
as the planet has warmed and the Gulf Stream has inched further and further north, the occurrence of the fog and the duration has grown significantly because that warm air that's being pushed up collides with the Greenland ice sheet and it condenses into fog. And so the visualization of the fog is beautiful, but it also tells a story about a changing world. And those changes have real consequences for the people who live there. You know, most people on West Greenland are fishermen. And if you're unable to fish during extended periods, that has real consequences for your life.
And didn't you do a partner up to produce a film? Am I remembering something about that? Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. So I partnered up a couple of years ago with a wonderful filmmaker. Her name is Ashley Payne, and she owns Tracing Thought Productions, which is a production company that focuses on Indigenous stories. We partnered together to do a story in northern Greenland, where we were living with the hunters during the summer and then also during the winter, and to film their lives in the modern world and to help tell that story. And so that documentary should be wrapping up later this year. So there's been some delays in making it, but technical problems have been overcome.
Yeah. Overachieved, overcome.
Definitely not overachieved, let me tell you. But it's going to be great. I've seen the rough cut. It's absolutely amazing. And we're going to be really excited to get that out and share it with people.
Great. How will people be able to find it once it is out?
We are a little unsure yet. So it is a crowdfunded documentary. So the people who donated will get early release to be able to view what they helped create, because everyone, we're a big family that made this together. And then because of the rules of film festivals, we can't just release it to the public because the large film festivals have to have the global premiere rights. So it's a little tricky to navigate, but once we do go through the film festival process, we will hopefully get streaming platform distribution. That is the plan. So we're going to try and get it on a streaming platform. So the goal is to not just release it on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. That's your big vision here.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely of the caliber. And I mean, it's hard to imagine a more timely era to release a film about Greenland.
Absolutely.
So
say no more.
Yeah, but the good news is that those who did help create it will be able to view it prior to all of that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, congratulations. Thanks.
That's and big shout out to Ashley. She's, a visionary for this, and really she's done the bulk of the heavy lifting to make it happen.
Well, we will eagerly await that.
Yes.
That's very exciting. So Talor, your trajectory seems like it has been very fast paced. It's been less than 10 years since you first bought a camera. And I'm guessing that meant first, like probably really digging into it seriously and throwing yourself into it. And within 4 years, you were named an instructor for a large workshop company. I'm curious about what you learned from that time of that really like exponential growth that is still useful for you today.
Yeah, I vacillate often between confidence and imposter syndrome because I have no naivety about the amount of time that I've spent in this field. I know that I'm a newcomer compared to many people who've been at it far longer than I have. I'm very acutely aware of that. However, I think the confidence has also come with time, knowing that I do have something of value to offer, and getting constant feedback that affirms that I have something of value to offer is really helpful. In terms of my takeaway, I would say for a long time, I really would tell people, well, it's like kind of a bit of luck to get that. But I have to tell you that I no longer believe that. It's not luck. And I think women are really in particular prone to give away that power to
Yes.
just the ether and say that things
Hmm.
just magically happened. When genuinely, when I decided that I wanted to go full time in photography, it was the only thing that I committed to. I committed 110%. I lived in my car. I lived to shoot. I was shooting every day. I immersed myself. I learned, and then I built community. And
Hmm.
I think it's a combination of really committing yourself, no matter what the consequence of that is, being willing to like lose things to make it happen. So it's a matter of being willing to totally commit to something and willing to lose the things that may get lost if you fully commit yourself to something. But it's also a matter of building a community around yourself, because when I first started out, there's no way that I could have gained any sort of success or started leading workshops if I didn't have a community. And that started just at a local camera club.
Yeah.
Like, I am a huge fan of camera clubs. I know that not all camera clubs are created equal and you're kind of stuck with whatever's in your area. But if you have a good one, that is an
Hmm.
invaluable tool. And I tell so many clients to consider joining camera clubs, because for me, when I first started out, it was a safe place for me to ask questions, to look
Hmm.
stupid, to get feedback. And then once I started improving, all of a sudden I had all these people who believed in me. You
Yeah.
know, I had a large camera club. There were like 400 people in this club. And
Wow.
yeah, and it was awesome. And, you know, when I started traveling, I didn't even propose workshops. Like, they proposed them to me. I had all of these
Hmm.
people that said, "You've been this place. Your pictures are great. Will you please put something
Mm.
together for our group?" And this whole army of people, you know, who believed in me. And it's because of community. And I
Yeah.
don't think I would have gotten anywhere near as far as I did without that, you know,
Yeah.
being willing to ask for help and receiving help
Mhm.
when it's given.
Yeah. And I'm sure uh, giving help when it's asked for as
Totally.
well, that
Totally.
reciprocity.
Yeah, being a team player, that has helped me also currently with Mute workshops, because we work on teams, you know.
Hmm.
I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I'm not always the best employee. I don't thrive under structure. I'm a free spirit, but I am a
Hmm.
great teammate.
Yeah.
And I really love having a team of people around me and being able to work and collaborate and feel like you're not just alone going through this adventure of life. Like, you have partners who are beside you the entire way, and it's so nice.
That theme of community has come up a lot. And so I'm really glad it sounds like a really big part of your journey. And it sounds like you weren't networking, you were forming relationships.
Totally. Like, I didn't have any intention. Like, I wasn't
Hmm.
using people for what they could offer me. It was just a genuine connections, and it was heartfelt. And when people wanted to step up and assist me, I accepted that, you know. And
Yeah.
then also it went both ways. And that concept of community also goes into the documentary that we were just talking about. Like,
Hmm.
when we first decided we were going to do that documentary, we had an immense problem finding funding, because it's a documentary about hunting culture.
Hmm.
This is not something that a lot of brands want their logo next to. Understandably, it's not a
Hmm.
criticism. I totally understand their PR imperatives.
Yeah.
But, you know, we realized pretty quickly that we were going to have to crowdfund if we wanted to pull it off. And I had serious doubts about, you know, the level to which people would rise to support a project like this, something so niche. I'm a new
Hmm.
face, like, who
Hmm.
would entrust their money to me? And then all of a sudden it just, I mean, it was crazy how much money we've raised through crowdfunding, you know, to make that film a reality. But it's because of a community of people who came together and they believed in something and they acted. And I think anytime you can build that feeling of a community and co-creation, you
Yes,
know, that's the foundation for success.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We hear so much about how photography can be isolating.
Mm.
Um, and so that, yeah, that community is vitally important. And I appreciate, I wanted to sort of underline your point about confidence in your capacity to offer something of value.
Mm. That took some time.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you listen in that, also in that spirit of receiving help, you also received the feedback you were given, and you didn't, it sounds like you didn't dismiss it. You didn't blow it off. You didn't say you're wrong. There's at least a big part of you that took that in and said, I respect them. If they are saying this to me, then it must be true.
Yeah, I mean, I've received valuable, if at times hurtful, critique about my images or my teaching style, but not all critique is going to feel good when you receive it. But it's
Right.
what you do when you receive that feedback. And of course, not all critique you have to take on board, but you should be open to it. I say the phrase that I like to use is you take the best and you leave the rest. You know, you take what is useful to you out of that feedback, and then, you know, if some of it is not valuable, then it's okay to let it go.
Yeah.
But it's just being open and also being honest with yourself of like, well, was I that way? Maybe I should be received a little differently. I'm a very direct person, and you know, I know that that's something about myself that I should be aware of, right? When I'm teaching, sometimes I can just be a little too direct.
The matter
I
of
can
fact.
learn from that. I can learn from that, you know, that I can work with that information.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's part of, I think, the key is seeing it as information that we can take, reflect, decide, like you said, take the best, leave the rest, take the best of what's useful and go from there.
Totally.
Well, let's look at some pivot pixels. I am really excited to take a look at some of your work. And as I'm pulling this up, a question for you. This adventurous spirit, free spirit, the travel, has this always been part of your life?
No, look, you're gonna totally laugh, but the very first time in my life that I ever slept in a tent was in 2017.
I find that hard to believe.
Me too, but you should have seen me trying to put up a tent in the dark without a headlamp because I didn't own a headlamp and I didn't even know where to get a tent, so I went to Walmart. And I just decided I was going to go camp in the woods, and it was raining and I cried. So it was not great.
and for a girl who likes to sleep.
Yes. Well, you know, how far we've come, because now I'll go backpacking in Greenland alone. Like, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. So, all right. That inspires me, because I spent my first nights in a tent just in 2024.
Go you.
So I'm even worse.
Yeah, you'll be backpacking the PCT in no time.
In no time. And I'm proud of myself because I know what PCT is.
Yes, very, very impressed, Beth.
So at least I know, right? That's like 90% of it, isn't it?
It is.
So let's take a look at this first beautiful image. Tell us what we're seeing here. Hi, I'm popping in here just with a quick invitation to join us over at the Nature Photography Collective. We've engaged some of the world's leading photographers in creating content designed to support your development and identity as a photographer. Whether it's the North American or international speaker series, the Nature Photography Academy community, workshops, or mastermind groups, you have lots of ways to engage with an amazing group of photographers. Your membership gets you access to hundreds of hours of live and archived learning opportunities. You can learn more and become a member at naturephotocollective.com. Yeah, so in your description of a pivot pixel, it was talking about turning points in photography. And so for me, I recently, well, not so recent now, it's about a year ago now, I got my first underwater camera housing and decided that I needed to try a new perspective in photography and to feel challenged. And so I've been branching out a little bit, trying some underwater photography.
and I actually have a trip coming up to do a bunch of it. So very
Wow.
excited. So this is an image of a lemon shark that I photographed off the east coast of Florida in the Gulf Stream. And it was kind of a crazy experience. It was my very first shark diving experience. And if you've never done something like this, let me just describe it for you. I have been scuba diving prior to this. So you do have to be comfortable diving before you can go do an adventure like this. But you literally take a boat out into the middle of the Gulf Stream, not a bit of land in sight. You jump in the water with a giant box of bloody bait.
Oh, my stomach is already.
Yes. And so we would go down to maybe like 60 feet deep. Actually, that's not true. Probably more like 40 feet or so. So, where there's still plenty of light, but, it's a little bit more subtle. And then all of the sharks, I mean, you can't see the bottom. You have like miles of water between you and the bottom, and you're just floating in this abyss. And these sharks just come out of the dark ether below you up to this bait box. And I mean, you're like looking around and all of these sharks just emerge from nowhere. It's so surreal and spooky. And they just kind of circle around you because you have the bait box with you. And it was really a pretty intense experience for a first time doing this, but it was amazing. Like as soon as you take a moment and you just calm down and you zen and you just focus on the photography, the reality of everything else around you kind of goes away, because I'm no longer super focused on the fact that there is an abyss below me and that I can't see land and that there's nothing there. It's just you and the camera. And for this particular shot, I was really intentionally waiting for a shark to swim directly below me so that I could focus on the beautiful shape of the shark, because they're so graceful. And I really wanted my images to portray the elegance of this animal, which is something that I don't think is often discussed or acknowledged, just how beautiful they are.
Yeah. And a baby shark.
No, it's a remora. It's like a little filter feeder. Yeah.
Okay. It looks like a baby shark. I'm like,
I mean, that would be too perfect.
I know. I was already like, it was too perfect. It still is.
If that completes your story, I will let you have it.
Thank you. Don't burst my little fantasy bubble. No, but the placement of it is beautiful, and you did capture that elegance, and it's funny. You said that you were above the shark.
Yeah, so I'm above it, looking just directly down, and you could see the rays of light coming through the water, and I just kind of waited for the right alignment, which for me in photography, I often find myself waiting because I generally know what I want. And I'll wait for it. Even if that took an entire dive to get one photo that I really liked, that would be worth it to me. I do hope that I will have a shark collection going out on my website soon, because the trip I have coming up is for 4 shark dives. So I will have lots of opportunity.
Wow, that's going to be an amazing visual story.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. But I think it's important to show like a different characteristic of this animal that is so frequently demonized. And it's still an enormous shark finning industry. And these predators who are so important to the ocean are under a significant threat. And for me, I think this is maybe just a tiny piece of trying to change attitudes.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling like I have to recover from that miles of ocean underneath you. See,
it sounds like you suffer from thalassophobia, right? Which is like that. It's like a real phobia. It's like that fear of a bottomless ocean.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting a name to it, because my entire life, so I'm only 5'2", which means I was a short kid, right? And if I couldn't touch bottom in the pool, then I did not feel safe.
I can see a Google deep dive coming in your future.
Yes, I think so. So Google is probably the only thing I can do a deep dive on.
Yes.
At this point. So Oi, okay. I'm getting my stomach back out of my throat. So please tell us about this image.
It's just another step in that evolution of underwater photography. And this is
Mhm.
another example of I had a specific idea in mind and just kind of waiting for the circumstances to make it happen. So this was in
Mhm.
Antarctica, and I saw this particular mountain and all the ice around it. And I really just thought how fun it would be if I could like mirror the shape of the
Mm,
mountain with some ice. And
mm,
I can tell you it took some doing
mhm.
to find a way to actually line it up, because you're in a boat, the ice is moving, you're moving, everything's moving, and you're like
Yeah.
hanging over the side of a Zodiac with a 27-pound housing, which that was
Wow.
super fun.
Oh,
So yeah, it takes some doing, and there's a lot of images that obviously didn't work out, but
yeah.
that's for me the creative challenge of underwater photography was to feel like a beginner and
Hmm.
to have those challenges
Hmm.
again, because I'm very proud that I've become quite competent at my craft, right? That's something
Yeah.
I should be proud of. However, I feel that constant need to push a boundary and to be challenged, and there's nothing quite like the rush of being new at something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and do you find that that is carrying over into the more, for lack of a better way of putting it, like traditional photography that you've been doing? Do you find that it's pushing any boundaries
Um,
there?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think maybe anytime you try a new skill, it helps you see the world a little bit differently. And then you can
Mhm.
take that knowledge and reapply it into other fields. And I think that just the more you dabble and the more you try things, you're going to learn new things, bring new skills to the table, and at the end of the day, your toolbox is just a little bit fuller.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm picking up on a few things that, again, I feel like I want to underline about what, and I'm sorry to put it this way, but it's sort of like what helps. I was going to say separates like good to great, that trajectory of competence or skill or expertise. And you've talked about waiting a couple of times, and I equate that with like persistence and patience
Hmm.
to get what you want.
Definitely. Yeah, I think
Um,
it's, good photos worth waiting for.
mhm,
Also, great photos are often dreamed of, right? So you
mm,
put intention behind that and sought the opportunity to create that. And um, everyone has different ethics in photography in terms of photo manipulation or editing
mhm,
processes. And I respect all crafts with that, to be
mm,
clear. But for me
mm.
personally, I don't, do things like swap skies or like alter lighting in images, because that's just not the way that I want to create my art. And
Mhm.
so for me, the grit of like, no, I'm going to hike up that mountain again because the
Yep,
clouds sucked the last time and I'm just going to do it. You just do
yep,
it. You just do it. And also the willingness to fail.
mm, mhm,
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons in willingness to fail, because
definitely.
you don't push a boundary without failing a bunch of times first, and I think it took me a really long time to be willing to fail at things because,
Yeah.
I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to be
Hmm.
embarrassed. Who wants to
Yeah.
feel that way?
Well,
And,
and when you feel like you're like reaching that level of competence to go backwards and
oh,
feel it feels very vulnerable and risky.
totally. Totally, especially among peers, right? So,
Right.
I am fortunate to work professionally. I don't want to look dumb and lose credibility in the eyes of my peers. But at a certain point, it's about growth and it's about my
Mhm.
journey. And I'm going to
Mhm.
get 1,000 terrible underwater photos until I learn how to
Yeah.
get a couple of good ones. It's the same with bird photography. If you only knew the number of birds in flight shots I have to delete to get one keeper, like I'm not great at
Yes.
it,
Yes.
but I'm getting better because I'm willing to fail and I'm willing to delete the pictures that don't work. And I'm going to keep
Yes.
trying, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Absolutely. That was one of the biggest sort of aha moments for me a few years ago was and it was Anne Belmont. She was sharing at
Mm.
an out of Chicago conference and she said, if I come away from this conference with, 5 images that I love, and knowing she would probably take hundreds, if not a few thousand, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, wait a minute. You mean it's okay to just come away with like 5 that you love? You don't need to come away with like shot after shot
Totally.
after shot, it
That's something
totally shifts.
I try and talk about this on most of my workshops with clients, especially when I see that my students are hitting like a moment of frustration, like maybe an image didn't work out or they're not
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't get as many shots as I thought I would. I'm like, look, let's take a step back. Like, I am not
Mm-hmm.
afraid to show you my Lightroom catalog, how many images I'm culling out. It's
Right.
just, it's hard. Photography is hard. And, you know, you're lucky to get a couple of keepers in a day's work. I think that would be ideal and
Mm-hmm.
wonderful,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there's a misperception, especially among people who are learning, because
Yeah.
they only see the best of the best from people, right? It's so
Exactly. Exactly.
curated. You just think that we get great shots all the time. We do not.
Exactly. Exactly.
We
For
do not.
every one, there's like hundreds or thousands of, duds.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And like some days I don't shoot with intention. I'm just out
Mm-hmm.
there, spraying and praying,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not advocating for that approach because it doesn't normally work out, but not every day is going to be like your creative spark day. That's okay.
Exactly.
Just
Yeah.
go work on the craft.
Yeah. See, it's practice. Not
Totally.
everything is about creating something for your portfolio. It's just
100%.
about like getting better, learning something new, trying something new.
Definitely.
Um, and I want to back up for just a second to something you said about, when you are sharing these things and you're learning something new, and you don't want your peers to be looking at that and saying, oh, what's going on with Taylor? You know, um, I'm not, at the in the same stratosphere as you, and I still even have that, like, whatever ground you make, and you, like you said, you establish an expectation, like with your
Mhm.
visual stories, right? You've created something, and then there becomes an expectation, and when we deviate from that expectation, that can feel really scary, and it can feel
Oh,
like we
yeah.
might be compromising our credibility. But or and I feel like it's still important to do that, and even to model it for other people, like, oh, it's okay to like experiment and share something that is like a work in progress, something
Totally.
new.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be perfect at something to be proud of it.
I love that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, and look, I I feel like such a hypocrite saying that because I can't take my own advice, right? Like,
Mm,
I really struggle with perfection in my own life. Like, that is something I've always struggled with, holding myself to impossible standards that I can't
mhm.
possibly meet. But I have the wisdom to share it with other people.
Yeah. I know. What is it? Don't do as I do, do as I say.
Look, if anyone has the credibility to tell you not to do what I'm doing, it would be me. Yeah,
Well, the other thing that I think that uh, folks that I admire have in common is that they have a high degree of humility. And it's possible to be confident in your skills and have humility.
totally. Totally. It
So,
is entirely possible. And at the end of the day, like, your credibility among your peers is mostly like a made up thing
mhm,
that you're
mhm.
telling yourself. Like,
Yeah,
you're making that an issue. No one else is deciding that for you.
yeah,
So, just make mistakes.
yeah.
Be
And
silly. And I think at the end of the day, just be authentic. If you want to try something
yes,
new, go try it. Just be
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah. Because you determine how credible you are. Like you
Yeah,
said, like you determine your value, you determine your worth. Um,
totally. And if you
so,
put that vibe out, it's going to be received back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Well, let's take a look at the next image. And again, my stomach is not where it's supposed to be. Tell us what we're looking at here.
Well, if we're talking about trying new things, in
Mhm.
the last 6 months, I have started trying climbing photography. So it's a new sport to me. I'm far from an excellent climber. I'm still like fairly new to the sport, but I'm very fortunate that my partner climbs professionally, and so I'm constantly surrounded by amazing rock climbers. And so because I'm kind of new and I can't climb most of the stuff that they're able to climb, I needed to occupy myself somehow. And
Aha.
so I got myself into rock climbing photography, which is, wow, so challenging. It is, you have to have safety skills so you don't kill yourself doing it. So there's just some like
Just
really
the basic thing.
foundational, like
Yeah.
the barrier to entry and the consequences are high. So you
Uh-huh.
really have to know what you're doing. And then also it's incredibly physical because you have to imagine that I am getting myself up to the points that I'm photographing in, and it is
Yeah.
not easy to do. So you will get a workout. And also it's creatively really challenging because composition rules just kind of start breaking down
Mm.
when you have these weird angles and you're using super wide angle lenses, and you want to help convey like certain stories through that photo, but it's really hard because you're so physically limited by what you're able to do and your distance from the wall and your distance from the climber, and there's just so many factors. And also the, oh my god, don't look down, but I have to point the camera down.
Yes. Oh, oh, yes. I mean, just
Yeah.
thinking about it. Ooh, yeah. So, is this something you would have, like you mentioned, your partner? Is this something you feel like you would have done if not for the partner? Like, was this already
Probably
on your
not.
bucket list?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been like climbing curious.
Hmm.
Even before I
Hmm.
started in the sport, I always consumed climbing culture through like
Mm.
magazines, movies. I've always like kind of known names in the industry, who people were. Like I would be aware of the sport, but I'd never really tried. And so I think I hit the jackpot
Definitely,
by
probably in
having
lots
an
of
amazing
ways.
partner who could help me open that curious uh, area for myself, and then also help me do it safely. So,
Hmm.
but he did not teach me climbing photography for sure, because I actually took a class because it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so there's an amazing climbing photographer in our area, and I asked, I signed up for a class, and
Mhm.
I took a workshop. I'm not too proud to take a workshop myself, and so I signed up for a workshop and I learned all the fundamentals, and I taught myself basically how to do it, and he just is there to make sure I don't kill myself.
Yeah, which is good. Which is
Yeah,
good. That's
which
very
is great.
functional.
Yeah.
So in this image, are we seeing you or
Oh
this is
no.
you having photographed somebody because they are on a sheer,
Yeah.
woo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my partner.
Okay.
He's climbing this beautiful crack that is way out of my skill grade.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's this teeny little crack that you can just get like your first fingertips into, and you just power up it, and the walls are basically glass.
Yeah.
They're super super smooth, and so this is like a very physical type of climbing that I have not excelled at. Crack
Wow.
climbing's really
Wow.
hard.
Yeah. Is it something you aspire to?
Definitely, because
Yeah.
I can see how appealing it is, but it takes a very long time to build the technical skills to be able to do it, and the
Mhm.
physical strength as well. So maybe
Yeah.
one day you'll see me on something like this. But in
That
the
would be
meantime, I
exciting.
will take pictures of other people.
Yes. And see if my thought is, I think I would just get a drone. You're like, oh, you go all out, like you
You
lean
know,
in completely.
the perspective and the freedom of creativity, just having the camera in your hand is
Yeah,
really hard to replicate with a drone.
yeah,
And also just the experience, because photography is experiential. It's
yes.
experiential for you, it's experiential for what you're shooting, it's experiential for your viewer. Like it's all meant to be an experience, and so I
Hmm.
didn't want to be removed from it. I wanted to be a part
Yeah,
of it. So
yeah.
Yeah, and it's been really fun. Like, I'm not going to do anything professional probably with my climbing photos. I'm just having fun, and I'm
Yes.
challenging myself. And actually, prior to starting climbing photography, I was almost never using a wide angle lens.
Hmm.
I really shoot with a telephoto lens the vast majority of the time.
Hmm.
And it has helped me reconnect with the possibilities of a wide angle lens. So
Yeah.
that has been really fun because I have been using it a lot more in my other genres of photography as well.
Nice. Yeah. So that's one of those examples of something carrying over into
Totally.
the other work that you've been doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Please don't kill yourself.
Yes, I'll try.
Please be safe. Please, please, please be safe. And is this one also a pivot pixel?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like taking us back.
Mm.
This
Yeah.
is
I love
my
it.
very first time that I went to Greenland. I was brand new to photography, so it's not like
Hmm.
that great of a picture, and that's okay.
Hmm.
I was just starting out with photos, and I had arrived in Greenland for my very first time, and I showed up to Greenland with a tent. I was just going to go walk around in wilderness for a little while. And so this was like that very first morning walking
Yeah.
out. And so it's definitely a pivot point, not the photo in and of itself, but the
Right.
experience of that moment. And I couldn't have known it at that time, but in retrospect, I know that that experience changed my life completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that has followed has pivoted from that moment. And,
Yeah.
you don't often know it when you're in it.
Right.
Yeah. But, it's always going to be a favorite photo of mine.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I was hoping for from these pivot pixels, that it would represent not just a pivot in photography, but a pivot in your life, that it represents some moment when something shifted.
Yeah. Not every favorite picture you shoot has to be the best picture that you've shot. Some
Exactly.
pictures are memories, and that's like completely okay. Not
Yeah.
everything is going to be like this incredible composition or life-changing light, but some
Hmm.
memories are just as meaningful as, a technically perfect image.
Yeah. And I think we can forget that. Like, I can get in my head and think everything I have to be artistic about it. And it can be just documenting in some way.
Yeah. It's totally
Yeah.
fine to have a postcard photo.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. All right. I have travel
It's
coming up
funny
this
because
year, so
like
I'll try to remember that.
this is something that comes up in photo reviews sometimes because
Hmm.
during workshops we do a lot of photo reviews, and giving critique is really hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard, especially if you're the one having to give it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people do submit photos for review that are memories and not compositions, and that's
Hmm.
always a talking point during these feedbacks, is that there's a difference between like a creative composition that is
Hmm.
meaningful and intentional, and then a photo that you really connect with. and
Yeah.
and it's okay to just connect with that photo, but also being able to recognize the difference between the two and say
Hmm.
like, okay, this is my emotional connection photo. It's not like an intentional composition. And people are generally receptive to that feedback, but
Generally.
it's not a perfect recipe.
Yeah. Yeah. And not always easy to hear because of that emotional connection that we have.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
look, I've had a hard time receiving feedback like that before.
mm,
We connect to our photos,
yeah, we
that's
do.
okay.
What what have you learned from your own experience of receiving feedback like that that
Oh,
might be useful to someone else who is receiving feedback like that?
like I'm about to give you like the most controversial piece of feedback. This
Excellent.
feedback has started arguments with people around me, and it took me forever to accept it. Like
Hmm.
at least a year of me ruminating on this feedback and finally saying, you know what, they're right.
Hmm.
And that feedback that I received was about a photo that I was emotionally connected to,
Hmm.
and it had some very unique clouds in the image.
Hmm.
Like, I mean,
Hmm.
the light on the clouds, this incredible structure in the clouds. It was just very unique. And the feedback I got is that the sky is never the subject of a photo, so the
Hmm.
photo was not like very good. And oh my God, like the meltdown I had about that. I was like, how can you say the sky is never the subject of a photo? Like I've seen all of these photos with beautiful skies, and it took me forever to like really intentionally go through all of these photos I thought that were amazing and realizing that the sky wasn't the subject in any of them. It was just like the really fancy window dressing.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
and I have shared that feedback with others, and it has been hotly contested. People do not like to hear that. And it took me a
Right.
really long time to like say, okay, I think that's actually correct. And now that I've accepted it, I have not found a photo that I thought was actually really great where the sky was the subject. But I'm sure people are going to hear this and be upset by it. So write me and submit me.
Okay. Send all your complaints and
Send me the complaints, because I know that like that is a not well received critique. But in the end, I think most of the critiques we receive they have truth in them. It's just hard to
yeah,
accept.
it's hard to accept. We have blind spots. We're so close to it. And yeah, and I'd not heard that before. Like the sky is never the subject. And I can see somebody saying, well, the clouds, the light,
Clouds. Yeah.
but I think what you're saying is it's like, that's not enough to carry it. It's not
It's it's not a composition.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
the window dressing of a
yeah.
photo. Like you still have to have a compositionally,
Hmm.
a well composed image.
Yeah.
And the sky can be a part of it, but like it's not the
Hmm.
subject of it.
Right. You're making me think of like, I do a lot of abstract, and that can also be challenging to self-critique or to receive
Hmm.
critique. And people might think like the rules go out the window, the composition rules don't apply, and I say, well, there's still some intention that
Yeah,
needs to be behind it in order for it. And that's what differentiates, abstract that kind of is that you can't get your head around, and abstract that
hmm,
you're able to dive into.
correct. I totally agree. It might not be conventional composition, but it's distribution,
Right.
pattern,
Yes.
visual weight, the use of color and texture, like all of these
Mm-hmm.
other things, these more subtle elements of composition take over.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's just a picture of randomness, right?
exactly. Yeah.
And when you're looking at a well done abstract photo, you are acutely aware that it's not just a photo of randomness.
Right.
It might be hard to put your finger on why,
Right.
but you know that it's a composed image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for going down that little rabbit hole.
Yeah, I can
Um,
already see my inbox now.
I know it's filling up. It's filling up.
Yes.
What kinds of resources, whether that's people or books or videos or whatever it might be, do you find yourself referring folks to repeatedly?
Yeah, so it's really two things. The first one would be one of your best resources is your own creativity. Like if you are curious about something, just go try it. Go
Mm-hmm.
try it. Experiment and try something new. We've talked about how I've been pushing my own creative boundaries by trying new things in photography, because my resource in great regard is myself, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm curious about it. I can learn something. I just have to go do it
Mm-hmm.
and have that actual practice put into place. And then when that fails, the second part of it is to ask for help.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ask for help, because you don't have to do anything by yourself out there. You know,
No.
it's a big community of photographers. We're a generally very supportive bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
We're all quite approachable. And so, I would be happy to help you. Most of my peers would be happy to help you. And so when you find yourself getting stuck, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to take a workshop and learn a new skill in a structured way. I
Yeah.
myself take workshops when I want to learn something new. And
Yeah.
it's okay to be asking for help. So it's not that there's one particular resource. It's just look inward, push your creativity, and then when you're ready, ask for help from others, because we'll share.
And go to conferences
Go to conferences.
like the one in Durango.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
and when you go to those conferences, connect with the instructors, connect with the presenters and your
Totally.
peers, because that's another place, like you talked about the camera clubs, that's another place where you can be forming community, and you have no idea what connections you might make.
Right, totally. I mean, I've been a guest at conferences like an attendee, and
Hmm.
you go and you meet people. You'll probably walk away with a couple of friends, people you share
Absolutely.
things in common with, or, same curiosities or same
Hmm.
willingness to learn. And
Yeah.
all of those things are beneficial to your journey.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, what is the best place or way to connect with you, learn from you, send you hate mail? What
Send me your sky pictures.
send you sky pictures and insist that it's the subject.
Yes, I hope someone finds one that is. I really do. Yeah, so for me, you can reach me most easily probably on Instagram. I don't
Great.
post on my feed very often, but I'm on there frequently. And
Hmm.
also, that's where I share like all the behind the scenes of when I'm out shooting and goofy moments, and all of that is usually on my stories. But I'm very accessible. You can message me, you can email me, don't hesitate, just reach out.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And fan mail. You want fan mail, really.
Fan mail,
That's
yeah,
fan mail
definitely.
is yeah, very valuable.
Yes,
So
well, imposter syndrome is an affliction, so feel free to help me cure mine.
yes, exactly.
Yes.
It's the medicine,
Yes.
right? So, well, it's been truly delightful. I can't wait to meet you in person. I know that I'm looking forward to your presentation. I know it's going to be fabulous. Yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Yeah, thank you to Beth, and I hope to see you out there. It's gonna be a lot of fun.